you've been doing this a really long time. I'm sure you've seen the sea of humanity from the stage and from the back of the room. What are some of the memorable moments where a curveball was thrown your way, where you've either learned something or it was something that our audience could learn from themselves?
Well, I've had, like most people, some weird disaster thing happen in the audience, whether it's someone having a medical issue, we've had to, deal with that. And I think that's one thing that the meeting professionals should understand that, this is a live show. Anything can happen. Somebody doesn't show up backstage and that's happened before where someone, a speaker's supposed to be down there and they're
Right.
not down there. And that's where I have to sort of go out there and vamp for a little while. I have a lot of material. I have a lot of comedy material, so I could always jump into something. And that's important. And I've had situations where, just something didn't go as well as they planned. So just even if someone was trying to do something, in their presentation and it kind of fell, you could kind of feel the energy really drop. To be able to go there and deal with it tactfully, you don't want to you don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but be able to go in there and sort of acknowledge what's happening and shift once again the energy. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
job of the MC is really to constantly be maintaining that energy of the room, keeping it up, keeping everyone, connected and engaged.
Right. But it's up, but it's not full all the time, right? There's a balance of when you got to really turn it up and bring it down. No?
Yeah, yes. I mean, there's sometimes, I've had this situation where we've just had sort of a memoriam of some sort. And luckily, if you're just in the moment, you're going to feel it. So I think that helps also with that transition. If you have an
Sure.
MC who's not going to ignore what's actually happening and also just be emotionally open so you're affected by it. It could have been a video that just played, might not have been a memoriam, it might have been some uh there was some cure for some drug and we had some sort of emotional experience. To acknowledge it, there could have been people crying in the audience, and if you're taken by that moment in the same way the audience, you're sort of reflecting a lot of what's going on in the audience. An MC is kind of an audience advocate. We're asking those questions. We're feeling what they're feeling. We're taking them on that journey that we feel that they want to go on. So yes, if there's a moment that's serious in a moment, you have to play that sort of serious moment and authentically. And
Yeah.
that I think that's the you mentioned earlier about having fun up on stage. One of the things that I've learned in my journey of performing and keynoting is when you get to that place where there talk about a quantum paradox, two things can exist at one time. You could be reading the room and not relying on the room. So
Hmm.
I know what's going on, but I'm not going to determine whether I'm doing well based on how they're feeling. And it might sound a little arrogant, like, what do you mean? And what if they're not laughing? I've been in the audience recently, like at a conference. I was at the NSA conference this year, and I love being an audience member because a lot of keynotes don't realize that an audience member might be enjoying your presentation, but no noise is coming out of their face.
Right.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
know, it's so funny you say that because from the back of the room, if I go to a lot of events. I enjoy going to events. I learn. I like to be there and serve, and I'm the extra set of hands. I'll drive. I'll plug in a mic. I'll do hair and makeup, not my own, but others.
Right.
Um, but really, you'll see sometimes meeting professionals that hire a speaker and they're like on every bated breath of the audience. Did they like that? Did they not like that? And it's a little bit of a bigger, more ample, wider berth of understanding it. And at the same tone, I tell them, look, not only wait for the evaluations, but let's get some more anecdotal, take everything with a grain of salt. It could be a first time attendee. It could be somebody who's jaded. It could be somebody who's new in the industry, been there for a long. You have to kind of get your whole scope of what we would call generally feedback or instant kind of reaction. But to your point, Scott, I say the same thing to speakers. Don't be sucked in by that person in the front row who's like the groupie. And at the inverse, don't be turned off by the person with their arms across, folded across their chest, right?
No,
It's
that's stand up
it's
101 is not to be focused on one person, but I'm even expanding it more. It's kind of what you were just speaking about, which is, oh, this one thing I always said got a big laugh and it didn't get the same laugh. You're doing the same thing. There's just so much wiggle room on how you're going to do what you're doing. The audience is a factor. As you said, they first time they've been to a conference, they're overwhelmed, or where this came in the course of the 3 days. You're the closing keynote, and everyone wants to get out of there. It's really important. This is a message for speakers and anyone who's doing any bit of comedy, is that you have to believe in yourself. What the audience is enjoying is you having a good time on stage.
yeah,
That is contagious. And
yeah.
so as long as you're having fun up there, and I'm not, once again, it's that quantum paradox. You're not ignoring the audience. You're just not determining how well you're doing based on these weird reactions that you might expect to get, which is, could be anything from laughter or I mean, I'm interested in when people are singing. You can maybe hear at the end during the applause, oh, they really liked it. But while they're singing, there's no cues coming back and forth. And I think for the speaker or the comedic speaker, you need to sort of just trust yourself, know you're doing well.
The two words you said, belief and trust, right there. And you can't, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to sound like I'm going to date myself, Bob Newhart, but you can't be so insecure that or so precarious or so fragile that every yes or no is going to determine how you feel you did. And all there is, Scott, is belief, not just for the speaker, but for the meeting professional who's made that choice. They got to believe it. They got to feel it. They got to vet. They got to do their work and then trust that choice. And, that's where I come in. That's where you come in. That's where, we're guiding and we're the Sherpas, if you will. I didn't want to call you a dirty word, so I'll call you a Sherpa.
Sherpa is good. That's
Sherpa works for now.
Sherpa works. And I just met someone who was Nepalese just the other day, a good friend of mine, Happy from Nepal, where there's a lot of Sherpas. But sidebar, but what you were saying, I think is very, is very valid that, we need to have trust in what we're doing, and the meeting professional needs to have trust. I'm actually surprised, to be honest with you, that there is so much trust. Like I would feel like, oh, well, what is he going to say?
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe once did I go over what I'm going to do that day. They just, I guess maybe because of what they've seen or what they've heard, but I'm actually surprised, especially with humor, that they don't seem uptight. They just know I'm going to do the right job. And that's rewarding as well.
Right. That is. And it's freeing, it's like you feel unconstrained, to be able to deliver. That's
and
awesome.
I was able to make it through the last, 5 years or 6 years where things were a little bit more tense on, what you can say, what you can't say. And I'm proud to say that I've never crossed the line. I've never had anyone come up to me and go, you can't say that, or you shouldn't have said that. I know where the line is. I'll go very, very close. Maybe a toe a little bit on the line, but I'll never go over the line. And I never have. And if you're really good at what you're doing here in this sort of corporate or association model, you will sacrifice a laugh because it could maybe offend someone or it could be crossing the line.
Totally. But you that's the choice you have to make, and I think that's the responsible and smart thing. And that's what serves not only the buyer or the client, but the audience in the long run, for sure.